Hello Outriders, and welcome to my first class highlight video for the Pyromancer. Outriders is due to be released on the 1st of April, and the demo arrives today for everyone to play for free on the 25th of February. I'm lucky enough to be an Outriders ambassador, so be sure to hit that subscribe button for the most up-to-date Outriders news and content here on YouTube.
As pyromancers, we manipulate explosive volcanic energy and devastating walls of flames.
Today we're going to start with the Pyromancer, as it's the class that caught my eye, and it's also the class that I've been lucky enough to play in an early preview of the game. If you want to check out my first impression videos that I made when I played the game, check them links out in the description down below. So who should play this class? This class is for players who like to play it at mid-range. The Pyro doesn't have the movement speed to jump in and out of combat really fast like the Trickster does, but it thrives on taking on groups of enemies at the same time. Therefore, a lot of its combat abilities are area effect based. So let's take a look at the fundamentals of this class. It has three fundamentals: Explosive, Immobilize and Ignite. Everything the Pyromancer does is fire. Even its melee damage deals fire and status damage. So how do you heal? As with all the classes, you need to be aggressive in this game to heal. In the case of the Pyromancer, you will gain these heals if an enemy dies while it's marked by one of its skills. When playing in a group, this could become super powerful, because as long as you have marked the enemies, if one of your group or team members kills that enemy, you will still gain the heal. So let's have a look at some of the powers that we'll get early on in the game. Each class has up to 8 powers. You only start with 1, but you'll gain more as you level up. Many of these powers for the Pyromancer will cause enemies to burn. That's its bread and butter. This causes damage over time, and also for a second interrupts the enemy. The first power we're going to look at in depth is Thermal Bomb. This power causes damage over time, and if an enemy is killed while under its effect, it'll float up into the air and do a huge explosion, causing mass AoE damage. Even if your teammates kill the enemy when you've applied Thermal Bomb, the bomb still goes off. It's not all dependent on you. Next, let's have a look at Ash Blast. This applies status effect damage to an area of enemies, and it causes them to freeze for a very short period of time. This can be used offensively, because you can basically freeze them all, go ham and kill and apply as much damage as you possibly can. Or if you find yourself in a bind, you can use this defensively, where you can freeze them all and reposition yourself into a better position to give you more optimal damage and get them kills and get them enemies dead, because nobody likes to retreat. Nobody's freezing and retreating. Power 3, Heat Wave. This is one of the very first skills that you unlock as the Pyro very early on in the game. This skill's great at close range. It stops rushers when they're attacking you. You can just pop it off. It's an instant cast. It also applies burn effect to your enemies as well, so if they die with this effect, you're going to get healed. Which obviously is very important. If you're being rushed, you could be under some very heavy damage. Next, let's talk about power number 4, Overheat. This deals small damage to a large area of enemies, but if they're already burning, this skill will deal extra damage to any of the affected enemies. Therefore, it's a great skill to chain with one of your other powers. For instance, you could do Heat Wave and then Overheat to double down on that extra damage and do a damage combo. That's a great segue into our next section, Power Combos. This is where the burning effect that we've been talking about all the way through this video from all of our powers becomes super important. Using Heatwave to apply burning to a group and then using Overheat as a chain power combo then provides you with extra damage and also extra healing. There are many different combinations that you can do in Outriders. You have 8 skills, but you can only use 3 at any one time. So there are plenty of combinations for you to sink your teeth into. For instance, you can easily use Heatwave and then Ash Blast to hold them all in place. And then after that, you could apply Thermal Bomb to one of the enemies in the middle, kill that enemy to cause huge chain reaction of explosions and damage, and then a huge amount of healing as all of these enemies die. So combos can be 2 moves together or they can be 3. So lots and lots of combinations to be had. Next, let's take a look at class points. 3 different options. You can take any path through this tree that you like to suit your own playstyle. You gain class points as you level up, and it's important to select the correct nodes because you cannot fill your entire tree. However, you can respec the points at any time. The 3 paths that you have available are Ashbreaker, Firestorm and Tempest. Each path has both major and minor passives for you to select for your character that affects your character's damage and survivability. First of all, let's take a look at the Ashbreaker branch. This branch concentrates on giving you extra damage when you mark your enemies with skills, and it also boosts your anomaly power. If that's not for you, you can go down the Firestorm branch. This branch will give you max skill damage with a boost to your anomaly power. Any enemies that you mark gain extra damage with your skills. So if you're all about using them skills, you can mark up the enemies, use your skills and see a lot of extra skill damage with this tree. Or if you fancy something a little bit different, there is the Tempest branch. This is more of a tank branch and it maximizes your health and reduces damage from certain sources. But this path actually has a special passive that gives you a revival on death called Phoenix Nestling. So if you fancy going down a path where you're going to be a bit tankier but still do a lot of damage and get an extra life, Tempest branch is the one for you. Next, let's take a very quick look at gear. Certain gear has mods that affect the effectiveness of all of these skills that we've been talking about today by lowering things like cooldowns or adding to the effectiveness or how strong that they are. But also some of these mods can affect the skills on an absolute fundamental level, giving you an extra cast and things like that. With that said, we've come to the end of a very quick Pyro overview. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Be sure to come along and check me out over on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJTICKLE. I could be streaming right now, and being an Outriders ambassador, we do have 1 hour early access to the demo that arrives today from 11 AM EST, 4 PM GMT. Hit that thumbs up and comment down below which class you're going to try first. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more Outriders content. Thank you for watching everybody. Goodbye Outriders.